Following Epstein's documents, Prince Andrew will never return to the royal fold as King decided to remove the Duke from Royal Lodge. According to reports, Prince Andrew will never return to the royal family once pedophile Jeffrey Epstein's records were made public. The recently made public documents are related to a lawsuit filed in 2015 by Virginia Giuffre, Epstein's accuser, against Ghislaine Maxwell, the girlfriend of the sex offender who was found guilty. According to the latest court filings, Prince Andrew is charged with participating in an underage orgy on Jeffrey Epstein's island. The complainant, identified in the documents as Jane Doe 3, says she was told to have sex with the Duke of York when she was still a juvenile in 3 different places, including during an orgy with other underage girls on Epstein's private island in the U.S. Virgin Islands. Andrew has vehemently and repeatedly refuted accusations made against him. Insiders, however, reportedly assert that King Charles' will to resolve the Andrew problem has been crystallized as a result of the new data. There is no going back when it comes to his brother playing any kind of public role, a source told the Daily Mail. It has always been understood that Andrew, as is his right, will be able to attend family and private occasions, nevertheless, not official or public ones. That remains unchanged. It is also believed that despite earlier attempts to relocate the Duke of York from his Royal Lodge residence, the king has been determined to do so in the upcoming months as a result of the documents. In the past, Charles has tried to force Andrew out of the Royal Lodge and into the smaller Frogmore Cottage, which was once owned by Harry and Meghan. It is challenging when it comes to family. However, this association will always exist. The person continued, and that means he, Andrew, has to. The claims that Andrew's attendance at recent public events, like the late Queen's Platinum Jubilee and a church service with the royal family on Christmas Day, indicated a possible shift in attitude regarding his revoked patronages and military titles, have also been refuted by sources. The source informed the newspaper, "The palace can't ignore it. This isn't going away." He gave Virginia Roberts that huge sum of money. If he believed the money would solve the problem, it has had the opposite impact. It now has legs thanks to it. No smoke without fire, many believe. The recently made public court documents are related to a 2015 defamation lawsuit filed by Virginia Giuffre against Ghislaine Maxwell. 2 years later, that case was resolved. Andrew has vehemently refuted accusations made against him and stated he doesn't remember meeting the accuser, Ms. Giuffre. He allegedly paid several £1 million to settle her lawsuit against him. Court filings listing the associates of the deceased pedophile Jeffrey Epstein mentioned a number of prominent individuals on Wednesday night, and on Thursday night, more names were added. A deposition from Johanna Sjoberg, a 21-year-old college student, is also included in the papers. In it, she recounts seeing Andrew and Ms. Giuffre in Epstein's Manhattan residence. She'd been brought on board to help the financier out. According to Ms. Sjoberg, she posed for a picture with Andrew, Ms. Giuffre, and a Duke puppet from Spitting Image. The papers, which a judge decided to make public because several persons have spoken to the media, also mention a number of other well-known figures. Records indicate, according to Maxwell, while traveling the world, former President Bill Clinton had dinner on Epstein's private jet. But she denied that he had went to Little Street James, the pedophile's Caribbean island. Epstein allegedly informed Ms. Sjoberg that Mr. Clinton likes them young, referring to girls. Following the discovery of pedophile records, Prince Andrew will never again be a member of the royal family and will be forced out of the Royal Lodge. The sexual assault claims detailed by Jeffrey Epstein crystallize King Charles' resolve to take action. According to insiders last night, Andrew will never rejoin the royal family following the disclosure of documents including claims of sexual abuse. The Duke of York's link with pedophile Jeffrey Epstein came back into the public eye yesterday morning thanks to documents disclosed by a New York court. The documents contained allegations that the prince had engaged in an underage orgy and committed acts of sexual abuse. Andrew has consistently and adamantly refuted every accusation made against him. The Mail was informed yesterday by reliable sources that although the court's allegations were not unexpected, they will have helped to crystallize King Charles' will to find a definite solution to the Andrew problem. There were already plans to kick him out of his 10-bedroom Windsor home, Royal Lodge, which he had owned since 2003, and relocate him to a smaller property more fitting for his downgraded status. It is thought that the king's determination to prevent Andrew from ever returning to royal duties has been reinforced by the recently made public court records. There is no turning back when it comes to his brother playing a prominent role, according to a source. It has always been understood that Andrew, as is his right, will be able to attend private and family gatherings. Nevertheless, not official or public ones. That remains unchanged. Charles has asked Andrew to move into the smaller Frogmore cottage, which was Harry and Meghan's before they departed for the US, but Andrew has refused. It is now known that in the upcoming months, the king will step up his efforts to relocate his brother. According to a source, it is difficult when it comes to family. However, this association will always exist, and that implies that Andrew must. The recently released records include a defamation lawsuit filed in Manhattan in 2015 by Virginia Giuffre, née Roberts, the Duke's accuser, against Ghislaine Maxwell, who served as Epstein's madame. Along with scores of prominent acquaintances of the late pedophile financier, Andrew is mentioned 69 times in the new files, despite having spent years trying to mend his damaged public image. Jane Doe III, who was subsequently identified as Ms. Giuffre, made a deposition in which she stated she was coerced into having sex with the Duke 3 times, including when she was 17. She says Epstein told her to give the prince whatever he demanded, which included landing on the financier's Caribbean island of Little St. James and setting up an orgy with numerous other underage girls. She claimed that British socialite Maxwell, whose father is Robert Maxwell, acted as madame for Epstein, facilitating Prince Andrew's acts of sexual abuse. An additional setback for Andrew is that the case files are anticipated to be made public on a rolling basis, which means he may have to deal with days' worth of humiliating press over his friendship with Epstein. Claims made in yesterday's startling court documents include, all accusations of misconduct are refuted by Mr. Copperfield, and a representative for Mr. Clinton restated his earlier claim that he was unaware of Epstein's horrible crimes during their previous association. After the records were made public, Ms. Giuffre gleefully commented on X, which was formerly Twitter, stating that the system had collapsed due to the high volume of downloads for the new court files. "We broke the website," she wrote. According to recent reports, Andrew was at a loss, totally tormented by the idea of the incident being brought up once more. Following his car crash Newsnight interview with Emily Maitlis, in which he was made fun of for refuting Ms. Giuffre's allegations that the two had sex in London when she was 17 by claiming he had been at Pizza Express in Woking that evening, the Duke resigned his position as a working royal in 2019. Andrew was then the target of a sexual assault lawsuit in 2021 from Ms. Giuffre, an Australian mother of 3 who was then living in New York. He resolved the case in February 2022, reportedly giving her £10 million, but he insisted he had never met her and refuted all of her allegations. By then, his late mother, the Queen, had already deprived him of his military titles and royal patronages. However, there have been rumors that recent attendance at significant public gatherings, such as the late Queen's Platinum Jubilee and Christmas Day church services with the royal family, may indicate a softening of that stance. Sources, however, indicate that this is not the case. "The palace can't ignore it. This isn't going away," stated a source with significant knowledge of Andrew. That was a huge sum of money he gave Virginia Roberts. If he believed the money would solve the problem, it has had the opposite impact. It now has legs thanks to it. There is no smoke without fire, they believe. This young woman, who is supposed to be helpless, has had the last laugh, they said. She has his money and has managed to use official court records to publicly identify and humiliate him, leaving him without any recourse. He is responsible for damaging the reputation of the organization. 40 years ago, he was a hero naval officer, charming and good-looking, another insider continued. What a swift fall from grace. He never had a good sense of who he hung out with. He's not particularly clever, end of story. He has a strong lack of judgment, dislikes accepting counsel, and always surrounded himself with people who have assured him he could walk on water. That kind of sycophants surrounding you makes you believe your own press. The palace must take control of this. It is challenging for the family. He remains their physical being. King Charles, though, needs to take action. Of course, people would be more open to hearing both viewpoints if Andrew was a very great guy. However, he isn't. It's a well-known example. Be cautious when descending if you treat people poorly when you are ascending. Finding someone about whom so few people have positive things to say is uncommon. As Prince Andrew was in self-denial over his affiliation with Epstein, royal writer Tom Bower advised the royal family to bury and forget him. The palace is in danger. They don't know what more bombs will be dropped, he stated. He's keeping it from them. As anti-monarchy activists denounced the Duke to the Metropolitan Police yesterday night, pressure was building. The force held by its decision in 2015 to not look into Ms. Giuffer's allegations that she was sex-trafficked to London, and it had earlier declared in August 2022 that it would not act further on the charges brought against Epstein. I have reported Andrew to the police, well aware that the Met claims to have looked into this before, Republic's Graham Smith stated. I want Charles to make a public statement, I want MPs to discuss this matter in Parliament, and I want the Met Police to reopen this case. Andrew was a prominent member of the royal family and a government trade ambassador at the time of the alleged offences. Since Andrew is no longer a working royal, Buckingham Palace has declined to comment on the most recent disclosures and was unable to even identify the new representative.